everybody. Welcome to episode 36.
36.
So 36.
On the top of my pages.
We've done too many of these, and so I can't keep track anymore.
But you know what? That just makes me realize it went over our head. We're wrapping up the third year.
Yeah, we are. This is the wrapping up the third year.
Congratulations. We should
the podcast version.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we were talking about, Marian and I were talking about back in the old days of doing it on the radio, and how I got into it to begin with when your publicist called me and said, we're doing this thing really early in the morning. You want to come and bring some coffee beers?
I'll bring the intro. See, if someone called me and said, I'm a complete stranger, we're doing this thing really early in the morning, I would have hung up on them. You said to your readers, so can you just suspend the disbelief? Yes. You know, like in today's day and age, everyone's going to flood you with letters. That couldn't happen. Mm-hmm. Instead, suspend your disbelief. Well, in this case, I found it easy to, because this story is sort of based on this premise of these Romani families coming and going for that great Oklahoma land grab in, 18 whatever that was. And then they had to build their own funeral home because they weren't allowed into the other ones. Right. So to me, I thought you covered it well. And yeah, it's true, that wouldn't be allowed today. But what is your opinion as an author of where this line is? I mean, I write time travel.
Yes, I know you do.
Believable. How do we suspend a reader's disbelief when we're saying something that's blatantly untrue? What is your best advice on how we do this?
Well, I had a couple of beta readers who are morticians, and one in particular is also a psychic. And she advised me that the rules are very strict. She wants to maintain those two things separately and still be a licensed mortician and not have any supernatural things or any doubts about her professionalism. And so I thought, I'm just going to address that up front. So anybody who's reading this and thinking that it's going to be a true view of how mortuaries work and how the funeral business works, it's a little bit different. And I thought, I made up the town, called it Vardo, Oklahoma, named after the big gypsy wagons. I made up a Native American tribe that was there, that the Romani people, instead of kicking them out of the land, they allied with them, and they discovered that they have very many similar customs and legends. So it kind of adds a mystical, people write fantasies all the time. And this is, for me, was a fantasy. Oklahoma is a very red state. It's a very work hard, do this, do that. And I thought, what if it had a really strange and wonderful place where all this could happen? And I wanted to mix the pragmatic with the fantastical. And that's why I address the readers like that. And I also have great respect for people who take care of the dead.
For instance, you talk about actually knowing a mortician who was also a psychic. So did part of the genesis of this book come from your friend's experiences?
No, I found her, I follow her on Instagram, but she did let me know that her experiences are not literal. She doesn't hear them say, la, 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 la. Mm-hmm. But she picks up on everything. And that did play into the character that I created, because I wanted her to be someone who's very pragmatic and professional. She'd served in the military at Dover Air Force Base, where all the dead bodies come. And then she runs her own funeral home. And all of a sudden, she taps into the magic vibe of this town, this setting that she's in, where her heritage is. And she begins to hear things, especially from a murder victim, that she doesn't understand, but she knows.
So what's our first beer?
First beer is Surly Darkness. Darkness from Surly Brewing Company is their annual great big gigantic Imperial Stout.
Oh.
And Laura, you have the flavored versions of it. I think they're all 3 different flavors. The red one might be the original. I'm not sure.
So I got all 3 and they're all 3 the wrong ones.
Yeah, one's barrel aged. Yeah, and I can't read what the others are.
Oh, let's see. Barrel aged, Midnight Manhattan, and blueberry crumble.
Blueberry.
Okay, so you don't have the original. I was thinking of the original, but you can, I'd go with the barrel aged. You might like it.
Barrel aged. Okay, I was going to drink all 3. And I had a whole here to soak up all the beer I was going to drink tonight.
Yeah. So I went with this beer because there was one quote in this reading that stood out to me, and that was "Darkness reveals truth." And so I knew it had to be a really black, heavy, dark beer. And then it's got the name Darkness. So how can you not pair that with this reading? And I think there are some people. So this used to be a big cult beer. I mean, people would literally follow the delivery trucks around on the day that Darkness came out.
That's time for a book right there.
As many bottles as they possibly could. I mean, it was insane. So I think there are a lot of people who, at least back in the day, would have thought that this beer was some sort of revelation of truth. But it's big, it's black, it's malty, it's roasty. It's got nice piney, resiny hops to it. People like to age it, but I think they're stupid for aging it, because once you age it, that great piney hop character goes away, and it really doesn't age particularly well, I don't think. It's a beer that should age well, but it doesn't. So to all you people out there, all you Darkness agers, just drink it.
Aging business. I'm holding up these cans because the pictures on them are, whoops, you know, I keep expecting it to act like a mirror and a camera doesn't.
No.
So those pictures are kind of cool. So I'm going to try 2. And how are the barrel aged and the, what was the other one? How are these going to compare to what you have?
So I don't have any of them. I'm drinking something completely different because I don't have any of our beers today. I'm drinking a delicious wine barrel aged Baltic Porter from Minneapolis Town Hall Brewery.
Okay, so I tossed
The right color. It's dark.
Remember what the red one was?
The red one was Manhattan.
Midnight Manhattan. So what I'm trying right now is the barrel aged.
So it's bourbon barrel aged typically.
This is in my top 5.
I was going to say, this is going to be your beer, particularly the barrel aged. You're going to like the barrel aged.
This is really good. Oh my gosh.
Need another sip, right?
Well, I've got a lot of beer to get through here because I also have versions of the agave.
Yeah.
So this one is Midnight Manhattan.
So that's going to be based on a Manhattan cocktail.
I like those.
I like that one too, but in a different way. I think you're right. I do like the barrel aged better.
Yeah, that's going to be your beer. That barrel aged Darkness is right up your alley.
And I see my dog has inadvertently contributed
a wolfhound, right?
Wolfhound flavored stout aged barrel aged Darkness. Yeah. Well, and your dad was a test pilot, whereas my dad had his license. He could fly, and in fact, some of my earliest memories are of being up on a plane with him, one of the little 2-seater things. And this is kind of a funny story. He thought it was hilarious when I'm like 4.5, 5 years old. You know, I'd be sitting in the other seat holding the control, and he'd take his hands off and go, "You're in charge."
Oh no.
And as a 4-year-old, and instead of just realizing if you just hold the thing straight, nothing happens, I'd be doing this.
Oh my gosh.
I can't fly. And then, of course, the plane starts doing this.
It is because this reading takes place at a big margarita party.
Yes, it
where
does.
apparently pitcher after pitcher of margaritas are being made and consumed.
Yes.
So
the Air Force wives are into their margaritas. It's good.
Yeah, I figure you got to go with margaritas. I have never had this beer. I do not have this beer in front of me. So Laura, you're going to have to describe it.
Okay.
And you have two versions of it. I know there's a lime version, which is the original, and I don't know what else you have.
Yeah, you didn't specify, and this one's going to foam up really fast too. So let me pour it before it pours all over me.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were multiple versions.
Well, yeah, you seem determined to get me drunk tonight. So that was the prickly pear I just poured.
Oh, prickly pear.
I bet that's good.
Prickly pear. I'm looking forward to trying that. Grapefruit, I cannot.
Oh, neither of those are the original. The original is lime.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You're just all over the map today, Laura.
What?
You're just all over the map today with your beer.
Well, we bought a lot of beers. So here goes the grapefruit. And let's hold this up. Here's the prickly pear. Here's the grapefruit, which is still pretty foamy. So what's your guess? Am I going to like it, hate it, somewhere in between?
I do not know. I mean, do you like margaritas?
I love margaritas.
Yeah, well, you might then, because this is it's supposed to be a margarita-inspired beer. So. Well,
and you have actually found a number of beers I like. So let me keep this straight. This is the prickly pear. Buy that over there. That's good.
I told you, I thought today was going to be.
I think you found one you can stick with, right?
Yeah, I think so. We've had very few days where I like all three beers. Mm-hmm. It's almost unheard of. And in this case, I've got more like 6 or 8. Okay, so that's the prickly pear. That's good. It's definitely fruity. This one, I can taste the flavor in it. So here goes the grapefruit. You should know I hate grapefruit. So
well, you might not like this one then.
I think it's going to be a little different in beer than, straight grapefruit. I do kind of like that.
All right.
I think I definitely like the prickly pear better, but that's not bad.
All right, 6 for 6.
6 for 6. It's a good night.
No, 3, 4, 5. That my cue to come in?
It was.
You shouldn't have done that in the middle of eating.
I timed perfectly.
I have to absorb all this beer somehow. I'm going to be stumbling off the set here. So, anyway, so you grew up in the military. You were the child in the family, but you've written this story about the wife. How do you shift from the mindset of the military brat to the military wife?
I am very, very lucky. My mom was a military Air Force wife. She had this book called The Air Force Wife, and it's a handbook. I would call it the Emily Post for the military set. And it would let, and you talk about the ladies wearing, usually they'd wear white gloves and dressy dresses and all that. That was, when you go out, you dress a certain way. You represent the Air Force. You are part of our team. You don't do anything that would get your husband in trouble. You don't associate with people who might, put a stain on the Air Force or your husband's mission. And so it was very much, and my mom she did all that stuff. She was dutiful, but she also was her own person. And she would laugh at this Air Force wife book, and she'd get it out for my sister and me and go, listen to this. And, so in the book, Beneath the Wild Blue, I go from different viewpoints. The main one is the mother, who's from the South. And my mother was from the South. It's based very much on my mom, but it is not my mom. And then I do viewpoints of the 4 children in the Air Force family, because each child has a different memory of how they grew up. And each child experiences a move in a different way. Some just roll right through it, make friends easily. Some just really struggle. And the mom of the family back then, the dad was gone all the time. You have these children who are moving, who are in crisis or not, and you got to manage all that stuff. And I thought that's a juggling act I wanted to honor and portray. Because my mom was a little bit of a rabble rouser too. She'd say, I'm wearing a fiesta dress, I'm going to do that instead of that, you know. So that's where that came from.
It is to be, I believe it was a successful Army wife. So, you know, apart from, say, the white gloves, being careful who you associate with, what would you say are some of the qualities that define the quintessential Air Force wife?
Well, I think it goes way beyond dressing right and showing up right and being in the Officers' Wives Club. I think it goes into what I saw in my family. You know, military families are always prepared. They're prepared to move. They're prepared to
We got bug out bags in Germany during the Cold War.
Yes, yes. And they're prepared even, you know, for their loved one to go to war. They're prepared for that knock on the door that says...
My dad was in Vietnam when I was born.
My dad was in Korea when I was born.
Yep.
So yeah, there we are. And my dad was flying bombing missions in Korea. So
That's
anyway,
nerve-wracking.
Brett, they're just, military families are prepared for all of that. But what happens when a military family has a personal tragedy in their family, a death that's not expected or within their realm of operation, because they're always prepared. They're always like, okay, we're going to do the next thing, you know that. And we are happy to have this life because it educates us and it sends us all over the world, and it gives us the opportunities to understand people and learn new languages and do all these things. But what happens when that family is faced with a tragedy? Do they go into free fall, or do they somehow figure it out? And what I witnessed growing up was that when a family had a crisis, the Air Force wives were there. Even if you didn't know each other very well, even if you just moved on base, even if, you know, you supported each other in, and I'm just going to say sisterhood, because back in my day, all the women were the wives and the men were the people, were the fly boys. No, so
Right.
It's what in the Air Force wife, the writer says, it's the esprit de corps. It's like, we're in this together and we're part of the Defense Department, basically. You know, if we don't help each other, then our guys who are out there fighting the Cold War can't do their best job either. So there was a big emphasis on that. And the kids, we were always taught too, you show up a certain way, you're in public, you act a certain way in a foreign country, you never be an ugly American, you represent us, and that's a big deal.